I absolutely love this deck. I knew I would. You know, like I say, it gets into your mind, and you obsess about it and read up on it and watch walkthrough videos, and you think, no, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it. What can it add? And then you get it. And then as soon as you've got it, you realise, actually, this is going to add a lot. Hermit Ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. I hope everybody is doing okay, having a good week. I was going to leave this to Friday because I really like getting home at the end of the week and playing with some cards, but I feel like I've waited such a long time for this deck to arrive that I just want to dive in and explore it. Now, if you're familiar with tarot, and you probably are, that's why you're here and watching this, the Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot isn't a new deck. It's been around a long time. You could almost say it's a bit of a modern classic. That said, I don't see a lot about this, particularly in our online YouTube community. There's not a lot of walkthroughs about it. But it is a deck that I've been familiar with in as much as I've seen it in shops like Watkins when I've been to London, and even the very small offering of tarot decks that we have in Nottingham. There's a particular shop, I've seen it in there over the years, and I've kind of passed it up because I just thought, well, you know, it looks pretty and everything, but Dame Fortune, the title, just seemed a bit sort of gimmicky, and I thought it was perhaps just another kind of, because you can see the illustrations of the miners here. I thought it was a pip deck. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I've really come to appreciate pip decks, but I was wrong, and I've gone down this rabbit hole. So how did my interest start? Paul, who is a member of the Hermit's Cave Facebook group and who I've chatted to kind of on and off, contacted me probably about a month ago and said, have you done a walkthrough of this deck? Because I've ordered it and I'm really intrigued by it, and I was looking to see a walkthrough. And I said I haven't, because it's not one that's really appealed to me. And then he started telling me about how, you know, it's kind of an amalgamation, if you like, of different traditions as seen through the eyes of Paul Hewson. So Paul Hewson did a book that was very well known in the 70s that was called The Devil's Picture Book. So you might have heard of that. But he also did one called The Mystical Origins of the Tarot, which I do have. And a lot of tarot readers have that book. It's a great book. And the line drawings that he used in that book is what then formed this tarot. But I then went down a bit of a rabbit hole and watched loads of videos on it, and I was like, wow, I'm really feeling drawn to this deck now. And it's funny, isn't it, when you've known about a deck for about 5 years and then all of a sudden your interest is piqued, all because of an innocent comment. So thank you, Paul. But yeah, it's a deck that really kind of intrigues me, and also one, and it's one of two at the moment. I've also got an out of print deck that's coming, hopefully this week, but who knows at the moment, where you kind of go down a bit of an obsessive route of, you hear about it and then it sticks in your mind and you end up watching a video, or you end up researching it and reading about it, and then you start reading about the creator. That's where I've been with this deck. And so there is a separate book. I mean, I kind of wish that, and maybe they will one day, that Lo Scarabeo, who are the, you know, the publishers of this deck, could have done a bit of a kit, particularly when this book, I mean, it's a great book and it's a great resource, but it's only 200 pages. It could have, I think it could have come in a nice set or tarot kit. But I had to go to different places because I went hurtling off to the shop in Nottingham to see if they still had a copy of this. Of course they didn't. And then it had sold out on Amazon. So I found it on Book Depository. I think it was about £22. So, you know, it didn't break the bank. But about kind of average what you'd pay for a tuck box mass market type deck without a big book. The book, I mean, it says $19.95, but I paid $12.99 for this. And it is a great book. And the book does give you, it's not a huge amount of information. It was published in 2016 first. Text and Tarot Card Art 2017. So that's quite modern, but the deck has been around longer than that. But I love this. And, you know, lots of books give you the origin of tarot cards. But this book in particular, it gives you the history of the ancient tarot, but also the history of playing cards, which I found really interesting, and how they kind of, you know, came about, how, you know, it started off as a triumvirate, as a game, just like playing cards, but then like anything, you know, it doesn't take long before they get used for divination and things like that. But then it talks about how, you know, playing cards started off with batons, swords, cups and coins. And then in France, to make easier for reproduction by stencil, these signs were later replaced by the emblems we know today, such as diamonds, spades, hearts and clubs. That's something I didn't know. I didn't know that playing cards started off with batons, swords, cups and coins. So there you have it. But then it goes through the history, which is great. It really does. And it talks about, you know, the first majors like the Fool, the Juggler, the Female Pope, etc. So what this deck does is the minors in particular are based on Itea. Now, I've got an Itea deck and it's quite a challenging deck. So what really piques my interest and what fascinates me is to see how Paul Hewson has taken the Itea minors and given them this kind of fresh, modern, new lease of life. So I'm really excited to work with that. Now the majors kind of draws on a lot of historical influence. So, you know, it has the Italian influence through the Trionfi, the French influence through Marseille, but it also has Estensi and Montaigne. You know, it's got so much in there. So yeah, and I just wanted to just share this really, because I thought this was quite interesting. So sophisticated methods of tarot reading, however, only appear in print in the late 1700s. You know, and we all know that around 1440, we've got the first sort of Visconti Madrone, Visconti Sforza, but they were, you know, gifts for these amalgamations of two dynasties, you know, through a wedding. They were very large and they were gifts. And then used as games when the minors were added, etc. In the writings of a Parisian fortune teller, Jean-Baptiste Alliette, or Itea, as he preferred to be known professionally. However, Itea claimed that he had originally been taught to read tarot cards in 1757 by 3 fortune tellers, including an Italian Piedmont. But he elaborated on his tutor's methods. Okay, so that's how we ended up with Itea. Itea's contribution to the art of tarot card reading cannot be overstated. the traditional divinatory interpretations that he and his pupils recorded for each of the suits provided the basis of much of the card reading lore that was later incorporated into the Order of the Golden Dawn and other occult organisations. And then it goes into Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot. So following the custom set by 19th century fortune-telling decks, every card of Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot, including all of the cards of the minor arcana, have been illustrated to aid the card reader. The interpretations of the suit cards follow for the most part Atea's traditional interpretations, which may strike some as quaint today, but they are the genuine article. The cards are illustrated with imagery drawn from medieval and early Renaissance sources. So that's where we get that blending of the pips and the image. And the court cards follow the French tradition and appear as characters drawn from medieval romance. The designs of the major arcana cards, however, follow fairly closely with the variety of historically important tarot decks, ranging in origin from the 15th century Italy to 17th century France. So that gives, much more eloquently than I said it, the history, but also, what you'll find in, just look at these images, I'm so excited, in the deck. And this book is beautiful, it's clear, you get some gorgeous full colour illustrations of the cards. For the majors, you get your write-up, and it tells you about the design of the card and what it's based on. So here we have the Emperor. The design for this card is based on the same black and white 15th century Milanese fragmentary deck as the Empress, founded in 800 CE, Common Era. The Holy Roman Empire was to have been the secular counterpart of the church, etc., etc. So it gives you, the Trump, the Pope, Trump 5, the Tarot of Nicholas Conver. So we get information. So for me, this book is a little gem. Yeah. Okay. What else do we get? We get some spreads and things at the back, which you'd expect to find. So here we've got our Celtic cross. So it's a great little book. Great little book. All right. I know you want to see the cards, so let's dive in. Trying to find that little, there we go. Now it's going to take me forever. Oh, here we are. We're in. I still get that little buzz from opening a new deck, especially when you know it's going to be one that you're going to really enjoy studying, working with, and getting to know well. So on the box, we've just got the Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot by Paul Hewson. We've got a couple of the cards. The sides say the same thing on each side. So the elegance of the Marseille Arcana and the intuition of Atea in one innovative work. Although, as the book says, it's more than just the Marseille Arcana. With classic styling, thanks to the work of Paul Hewson, researcher, author, and extraordinary artist. Now, this deck is a 79 card deck. Let me see if I can pop this open without breaking the box. There we go. It's a 79 card deck because it has a significator card, which again was something that really appealed to me, because I am somebody who uses significator cards. In fact, more and more so recently. But what I like about this is when you use a significator card that is set aside from the 78, I feel that I'm not being denied a particular message, if that makes sense. So for instance, if I'm using the Page of Cups as my significator card and I've shuffled it, you know, and I'm looking what comes before and what comes after, maybe the Page of Cups wants to give me a before or after message to contemplate. So using a separate significator card, I think is brilliant. I would love to see more deck creators doing that. So you don't have to buy the Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot, the Pictorial Key book. You do get a little book. It's in multiple languages because it's Lo Scarabeo. But that said, I'm pleased that they haven't done that with the cards, particularly with how long the cards have been out for. So you only get, let's see, 14 pages and then a bit at the beginning, and that's starting at page 3. So what, 11 pages? So you don't get a lot. Does it give you a date of when this deck was first released? Because it's saying 2017, but that's the modern printing. And I know it's been out a lot longer than that. Bear with. Okay, good old Eclectic Tarot. I really miss this site as a resource. It's absolutely brilliant. I wish somebody would pick it back up, and because in my early days, I always used to go to Eclectic Tarot because there'll be reviews on there and there's just so much information. But on here it says 2009, so it's more modern than I thought. I thought it was turn of the 90s, early noughties. But there's so much information in here as well. I kind of wished I'd read this first before starting to film this, because yeah, there's a lot of information in here, but especially about each of the cards. So again, if it's a deck you've got or that you're interested in, highly recommend having a read through of you know, Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot on Eclectic Tarot. Brilliant resource. Please come back. All right, let's have a look at the cards. I know I've said that once, but okay, why have we got that little tear bit? Here we go. So let's bring the camera down and we'll have a closer look at the cards. Okay, hopefully that's okay and there's enough light. So we get the title card and we have the significator card here shown on the title card. These are the backs. I really like these backs actually. Yeah, there's something quite retro about them. Kind of reminds me of like a 70s wallpaper design or some crockery or mugs or something that you had. Now, Lo Scarabeo are normally a little bit smaller than a standard US Games or MPC card, I think. And I don't think this is any exception. Yeah, so as you can see, it's not a huge amount. It's a little bit at the top and a little bit thinner, but they do tend to be a little bit smaller in size than, as I say, MPC or what we'd call a standard tarot size. So let's pop that there. Okay. So we've got, let's find the significator card first. I'd imagine it'll be at the end of the minors. I wonder if it's right at the end. Yes, it's right at the end. We'll put it at the beginning. So this is the significator card, the 79th card. And if you're watching this and you're not quite sure what a significator card is, you can use any card in the tarot. You know, you might want to choose a card that's best representing you. So my go-to is usually the Page of Cups, but you might want to choose a card, and it can be major or minor, that represents the situation that you're inquiring about. So I don't know, maybe if it's about a a relationship, you might want to choose something like the Two of Cups, or you know, something like that. But as I said, the downside to that is you don't then, you get that as your kind of significator, but you don't get any sort of feedback in terms of what you're consulting the tarot about, as I mentioned earlier. So the way I use significator cards, and it varies, but the way I use them is I select what my significator is going to be. I shuffle the deck and I go through the deck until I find the significator, and then I look at what comes before and what comes after, and that is always what can help and what can hinder. But it can be anything you want, you know, whatever comes either side. If you're using that method, you might choose to have something else. So having a separate significator is really cool, because I now can use, or have at my disposal, the 78 archetypes that can give me some responses wherever, you know, whatever comes before or after. So the significator is really cool. We've got a person here that's got these signs of the zodiac all the way through the crown right down to the feet, and they all, looks like they're all corresponding to different parts of the body. What else can I say about it, really? I mean, I don't know if there's the significance in terms of chakras or anything. I'll perhaps have to have a look at the book, but I know, you know, we've got Aries, the bull, haven't we, for the head, and Pisces at the feet. So we've got the Libra scales of justice there around the waist. Let's just have a quick look. And I'm only going to do this on this card because I don't want the video to be too long, but also, you know, it's because it's an unusual card, we'll see what it says. So in Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot, though not part of the traditional tarot deck, the pictorial significator card is in effect a variant of what Itea modestly named the Itea, an extra card he took the liberty of adding to representing the inquirer himself. To quote Itea's reasoning for this, one felt the necessity for a blank card, the Itea. Sorry about this candle again, it's when one reflected, I'll read that bit again. One felt the necessity for a blank card, the Itea. One reflected on the fact that if a dark man was reading the card for himself and he chose the King of Trefoils, clubs, which designates a dark man to represent himself, he wouldn't be able to discover if a dark man intended to be of service or disservice to him. Seriously, that's exactly what I was just kind of saying. We're on the same page. Me and Paul Hewson and Itea. In other words, by using the extra Itea card, you freed up all the other cards in the deck for the divinatory use. It is an option you may wish to use. The design for the significator card in Dame Fortune's Wheel is adapted from a 16th century manuscript illustrating the astrological rulership of the zodiac signs over parts of the human body, beginning with Aries at the head and ending on Pisces at the feet. Right, okay. And then we have the elements of fire, air, earth and water, each aligned respectively to one of the four humours considered to determine the personality of a human being. Brilliant. Okay, so I don't know what you feel about significator cards, but I think it's really cool, and I'd love it if there were more decks that had a significator card. I was able to do it with an RWS because Conrad Steen did me a special edition, a Hermit's Cave edition of his CS Tarot when I hit 10,000 subs, and it had a card there that was called Simon. So I was able to use that as significator too, which was pretty cool. So here's our full, and we do have a similar colour theme through each of the suits. So all our miners have this kind of like a lime green background, and then a beautiful earthy green for our coins. The earth suit, we've got this dark, beautiful dark blue for the cups, this gorgeous orange for swords, and then we have this kind of sky blue for the wands, the batons. Oh, just as I was skimming through then, this deck is so beautiful, so vibrant and rich in colour. Instantly, I mean, this is Marseille kind of inspired, isn't it? But not all are going to be Marseille inspired. But instantly I just noticed how his face is like the crescent moon that we see here. I don't know if you picked up on that. But again, we have the dog. Sometimes it's like a cat, but with the ripped trousers. And that's our four. Notice to say this is, what, 14 years old. We don't have the multiple languages, and yeah, we have them in English. So we have the juggler for our magician. Very much the kind of street entertainer juggler. Got these people looking on at the tricks that are being performed. I love this little blue monkey at the bottom. But look how beautiful these images are. The line work is traditional, but also, you know, it's quite sharp, it's quite fresh. Our female pope, also known as the high priestess or the papess. So we have it in the English here as the female pope. She has a very playing card type of face there, doesn't she? The Empress. She's fierce. Look at that face. I love this kind of emerald green that's showing up. This beautiful emerald green gown. Oh wow, look at that. That's really interesting to have an emperor facing that way. The emperor and his consort. Love that. But wearing very similar colours as well. And then we have our Pope. Quite traditional there. Notice the hand gesture. We've got the Hierophant staff there. We have love rather than lovers. We have Cupid there. The chariot, gorgeous chariot. I'm loving the contrast here, the red and the blue horse. Justice is 8 because it's based on traditional tarot decks, pre Golden Dawn. And we have our Hermit. This is interesting, and I've seen the Hermit depicted this way many times. Having this hourglass, you know, this what we would call like the hourglass. I was going to say the sun timer, but I'm not sure if that's even. I think that's something I've just made up. But old Father Time was depicted through tarot history rather than the Hermit. The Wheel of Fortune. And then we have Fortitude rather than Strength. And here we have, you know, the figure breaking through and almost, you know, snapping this concrete pillar, really showing her strength, rather than, you know, with a lion like we'd get in the old Italian versions going way back, and of course in modern tarot decks. The Hanged Man. Love this death. I mean, they're not decapitated or anything like you see in the RWS. But yeah, it's quite fierce. Look at the detailing on the horse as well. Just noticed a signature there as well, which I don't see on the others. Oh yes, oh yes, yes, signature is there. So we have temperance. Again, we get this contrast like in the chariot card, with the contrasting colours. Look at this for a devil. I'm sure I've seen that devil somewhere. I'm just going to quickly look at the book because that was really familiar. The devil of Judeo-Christian legend was originally the powerful archangel Lucifer rebelled against Jehovah's authority. And as a punishment of it, yeah, cast out of heaven. But I want to know what it's based on. Doesn't really say. The devil is considered by traditional European cartomancers to be the archetype of fate at its worst, of nature's dark side. Cartomancers also sometimes believe this image may be given a constructive interpretation when it appears upright, but generally not when reversed. Yeah, so it doesn't really say what this devil is based on. But I have seen it before, so if you know, answers below. Here's our tower card. Not crumbling, no people falling, but we see these flames here and the lightning striking. Beautiful star card, very traditional. Look at this dolphin here. That's cute. Our moon. It's interesting having these same colours in the background because we don't get the night necessarily. We have a very traditional Marseille style sun card. That reminds me of the sun face in the 1JG Swiss. So. Judgment is interesting. And then we have the world. Okay, and then we go into the Itea inspired miners. I'll go a little bit quicker through this, but just beautiful. Look at this for the Ace of Coins. How gorgeous is that? I love the green. You really get a sense of it being an earthy suit. So as you see, we don't just get the pips, we do get scenic images as well. And that was done purposely to, as he said, Paul Hewson said, to aid the reader. Wow. So, I mean, again, another reason why I wanted the book, because, you know, whether I'm using what I know of my RWS references, and every time I see illustrations on like a hybrid type deck where they're using part illustration, part pip, my mind usually tries to go to what I learned when I learned to read tarot properly, which was RWS. Or, failing that, if it's just pip, then I use my knowledge of numerology, you know, and the 5 being like a disruptive factor. But, you know, and we do have somebody here that are quite, you know, war-torn, all the clothes are tatty and torn and that sort of thing, but very interesting image. In fact, just for this one, we'll have a quick look at what it says here. Two lovers embrace, too preoccupied with each other to know or care about the gathering storm. Oh, there's a gathering storm? Or the poverty of their circumstances. The imagery is drawn from a medieval house book. Basically, this card represents matters to do with infinite relationships, but it also entails material loss and financial difficulties. It suggests that an unregulated love life may lead to impoverishment, a stultified career, or loss of job opportunities. Reversed, it suggests a small financial gain will be complicated by legal issues. What I also forgot to say is at the bottom, as well as the writing, you get a keyword and the upright keywords and reverse keywords. So there's some keywords down here as well as your writing. So yeah, this book is going to be great for getting to know this deck. Now 6 of coins. The illustrations are just stunning. I love it. I love the arrangement as well, look. Ten of coins. And then we have our courts, and they are named. So we have Lancelot here for our knave of coins. The knights aren't, okay, which I've seen before many times. The knights are the knights, but they name the knaves, the queens and the kings. Beautiful. And then we go into this lovely deep midnight blue for our cups. Stunning Ace of Cups. Oh, look at that. I love the hearts. How the hearts are incorporated here, because he talks about, you know, playing cards and the significance of playing cards in the history of cartomancy. Ten of Cups. Bringing in a lot of the Italian influence there. So we have Paris as our Knave of Cups. It's interesting to know. Judith. That's a Tannoy announcement. Bear with. Okay, I probably need to speed this up because that was an announcement to say that there was some emergency works that needs to take place. And it could get quite noisy, so I don't want to have to film this in 2 parts or over 2 days. It's already getting quite late, but okay. So our swords, again, look at this. It's like I thought it was like an orangey colour, but actually it's more like a salmon pink. It's beautiful. These images are so fresh, so gorgeous. Oh, so there's a move from that here to give us that 3 of Swords feeling. You know, that sort of heartbreak, pain, suffering, loss. And we get that black sky. It's the first time that they've done that. Oh, look at that for the 4 of Swords. Actually caskets, aren't they? Tombs. 5 of Swords. Love this. I absolutely love this deck. I knew I would. You know, like I say, it gets into your mind, and obsess about it and read up on it and watch walkthrough videos, and you think, no, I'm not going to get it, I'm not going to get it. What can it add? And then you get it, and then as soon as you've got it, you realise actually this is going to add a lot. King David. And then we have our batons. This. I cannot wait to start reading with it. I might have to change up my power 5. I think this is going to be a deck that I reach for quite a few. Hector, I reach for often. And we have Rachel for the Queen of Batons, and Caesar for the King of Batons. So there you have it. That is Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot by Paul Hewson. If you've got this deck, and I'm sure many people watching this have got this deck because it's been around for 14 years almost. Let me know, is it one that you reach for? Is it one that you use a lot? How do you find you know, a deck that has lots of different influences throughout tarot history incorporated into it? Do you find it easy to use? Do you have the book? Let me know your thoughts. Or if it's the first time you're seeing with it, do you think it's one that you'd be able to work with it being a little bit different? It is breaking the mold a little bit, isn't it? I'd be interested to hear your comments. Thank you for watching, everyone, and until next time, go in peace, namaste, and blessed be.